Thank you for joining us once again for the Phil Taylor Jones Show. Today's subject is the Democratic presidential debates of last evening. We're going to be looking at that in depth and see what we can come up with as to why maybe Slithery Clinton is still in there. I'm Phil Taylor Jones, your host, and let's jump into this business right now. Before we get started with the actual debate, I'd like to just say that for the first time in all of these debates that I've watched for this 2016 race, I can honestly, without any reservation, say that Gwen Ifill and Judy Woodruff, did a stellar job at moderating for the PBS debates last night. They jumped right in there and started asking questions regarding the issues. They weren't divisive. They weren't trying to get these people to attack each other. They were totally professional women. I just am so proud of the job that these two did. So, Megyn Kelly, you pitiful mess, if you're watching, this is the way to do it. Start watching more of Gwen Ifill and Judy Woodruff and how they moderate debates, because they could teach you something, you pitiful mess. Having said that, let's go on. The stars of the show, naturally, were Bernie together, Sanders, and Slithery Clinton. Let me just say that Slithery does what Slithery does, and what she does is she irritates people. She irritated, the Bernie Sanders contingent in the audience by saying that his ideas were, what was the terminology she used exactly?
I don't quite remember.
Well, in any essence, you'll find it later. She was basically saying he was a dreamer, that his ideas couldn't be
unrealistic.
Yeah, they were unrealistic. That's the terminology, because of the things he wants to do. Well, her things she wants to do are unrealistic too. And they're unrealistic in this way. I don't know if you caught it, or even if you watched it, because it's just, but, the question I want to ask of Slithery is, hey, Slithery, how does Oh Bastard's spleen taste? She had her head so far up his rectum that she could have easily tasted his spleen, his liver, what have you. I have never seen such a disgusting spectacle of butt kissing before in my life. And to want to continue on a legacy that was dead in the water in his first year is either she's the biggest idiot in the world, or she's just that desperate to want to carry on a president's supposed legacy that is looked upon by the world as weak, ineffective, and just downright stupid. She wants to carry on in the footsteps of a man who is despised pretty much all over the world. If I were going to be a Democrat, I would want to distance myself so far from that bastard, it wouldn't even be funny. I'd want to go my own route, follow my own funky path. But yet, I guess he's endorsing her. He was here in California, Los Angeles yesterday, drumming up support for Slithery. Because out of all the times he's been here, and this has been in the record numbers, high double-digit numbers, he's never brought anything here but his ugly turd face. But he's left with bags of money. $35,000 a plate to sit down with this piece of garbage. I don't know of anybody except for our grandmother that paid $35,000 to sit down with and have a meal, let alone some political muckety-muck. Anyway, that notwithstanding, she's just espousing all of this crap from old bastard. They touched on several subjects last evening. Social Security was one of them. Bernie, together, Sanders, was saying that it's a travesty in this great nation that we live in that our senior citizens and our disabled are trying to skate by on $13,000 to $15,000 per year. Well, that may be true, but I know of a lot of people personally that they don't see anywhere near 13 to 15,000 a year. It's more like 10,000 and some change a year. So if the 13 to 15,000s are screaming and hollering, what about those people that are only getting 10,000? Social Security was meant as something that you would pay into, and when you later needed it, when you became disabled and could no longer work, you could get it, or when you retire, it would be there for you. Well, when you retire, you pretty much get it because you've reached the age and you go down, you do your paperwork, you get your money. But now it's a different story when you become disabled because they are holding on to those purse strings real tight and won't let them go. Most cases, when you first apply for Social Security, I have many, acquaintances that have done it, you get denied. You'll probably, skate past that if you retain lawyers, they'll fight for you and you get it. But then that's a bad thing because if you retain the lawyers, here's what's going to happen. And this is where Social Security works. You either get it out of one pot or they'll split it up into two pots. So you may get SSA X amount of dollars and you get SSI X amount of dollars. Okay, well, if you've retained the lawyer, then he's going to get a big chunk of that retroactive that you're going to get. And if it's coming out of two pots, he's going to get two payments out of your money. Now, the problem I have with that is if they've done a lot of work, then they may be entitled to, a sizable chunk because they've sent out investigators, they had to go to hospitals, they had to go to doctors, they had to do a lot of leg work, a lot of footwork, a lot of, brain power, a lot of computer time. So yeah, okay. But if they don't do that much for you and they're still going to get an exorbitant fee, plus if it's coming out of the two pots, that's ludicrous. There should be something done about that. Because these lawyers, liars, are some of the greediest people in the world. So Social Security Administration should crack down on that. Another thing I have a problem with is we as American citizens work and they take money out of your paycheck. You don't have to ask them to do it, so you shouldn't have to, fight for when you need it to come back to you. Another thing is, these people, and we've seen this firsthand when we took our grandmother down to get her benefits. These people can come here, these foreigners can come here fresh off the boat and draw a check, a big fat one. Social Security Administration should crack down on that and get rid of it. They have no right to draw a Social Security check having not grossed $1 in this country, fresh off the darn boat. And they go to the SSA office and within 6 weeks they're getting a check. And they cry about, Social Security won't be there in 2050 or whatever. Of course not, if you're going to give it away to every Tom, Dick, and foreigner that comes across the border haven't, paid into the system. That's ludicrous. In fact, that's past ludicrous. That's ludicrous. They also touched on racism. And, I think Bernie Sanders is a little more into it than Slithery Clinton. She feigns a lot of things. She doesn't really have her heart into it. Bernie was talking about getting programs together, so that black youth would have something to go to instead of street gangs and get in trouble. I also talked about prison reform, in as much as the way it stands now, if you go to prison and say you don't commit a heinous crime, but you commit a felony. Well, when you get out of prison, one, nobody's going to want to rent to you because you're a felon. They're certainly not going to want to give you a job because you're a felon. They really don't want to have that much to do with you being a felon, or as our folks across the pond would say, a crim. So you're getting out of jail and you're coming into or out of prison, and you're coming into this life now. And if you've been in there for some time, then you may really be coming out to culture shock. And they often end up going right back in because they can't cope with the life on the outside. Sure, there are halfway houses and programs and things of that sort, but they're not there to the magnitude to keep these felons out of trouble and help them, sort of mainstream back into regular life. So Bernie was talking about programs like that. And talking about the racism in this country. It's blatant, and how we can, do things to try to make things work a little better together. Slithery Clinton, she could only espouse how O'Bastard has made the system, the racism in this country almost non-existent. He's taken significant strides to make sure that races get along. Yeah, right. And fat meat ain't greasy. As far as foreign policy, they're still talking about this diplomatic way of doing things and meeting together with the people, especially on Slithery Clinton's side, setting up deals like the wonderful deal that I helped broker in Iran. Yeah, that one-sided crooked deal where Iran gets all the money, all of the planes, all of the equipment, has to give up nothing. They lie and say that they're sending away the isotopes and everything that they need to make nuclear bombs. And while we're watching the ship sail away over there, there's probably a ship coming in over here with 100,000 pounds of isotopes and things that they need to make nuclear weapons. And nobody checks their hand because, who do we have running the country? What do you mean, who's running the country? Nobody's running the country. So, these people can run roughshod. You've got Korea over there sending up missiles and everything, and they're taking it face. Oh yeah, it's a satellite. We saw it as it was in position. Yeah, right. So this is the kind of stuff we're talking about with these Democrats and Slithery Clinton. Foreign policy, again, Bernie Sanders kind of hit it on the head. Yeah, we can go in and we can extract these dictators like Uncle Muammar Gaddafi and Sad Man Insane. And others, they want to get rid of Assad. Okay, if they get rid of Assad, ISIS is already over there. They're just going to really take a stronghold. You got to figure out what's going to happen to fill that vacuum after you take this dictator out. So he was saying things like that. We need to maybe get with Russia and flex a little muscle because Putin, has been Putin, all of this stuff. He's helping out Assad. He's doing nothing to get rid of ISIS and all of this kind of thing. So they talked about foreign policy in that way. Slithery Clinton even went as far as to say that if it wasn't for President O'Bastard, that we wouldn't have the wonderful systems that we have in place now since 9/11. That our country has become more secure because of things that he's done. Oh my God, I almost thought I had to go get my bucket. What a crock. You let any and everything slither across the border with bombs, with guns, with knives, with whatever, and wreak havoc upon this country, and he's done better since 9/11? God. What? Oh, God. This woman is delusional. She is a delusional Democrat. Healthcare, they talked about that. She tried to totally shoot down Bernie Sanders' healthcare system and push forward O'Bastard's care. And we know that O'Bastard's care is something that should have never took place in this country. It was something that was shoved down American people's throats, whether they wanted it or not. And now, if you don't toe the line and get things done when they want you to get things done, you're going to accrue an exorbitant fine, at least 3 digits, mid to high 3 digits. So, I mean, what the hell kind of affordable plan is that? The doctors don't want to have anything to do with it. It's a farce. It's ridiculous. I think that, she keeps putting down the models that Bernie uses, like in Sweden and Norway. We're not Sweden, we're not Norway. Yeah, this is true. But if somebody has a better system that works for the people, then why not take a look at it? That's the thing with politics and the people that follow politics. They're so stagnant in this cesspool of crap that they're not willing to look at something that's new. Hey, like I said before, I used to be 2 years old. Now I'm 57. The things that I did at 2 don't work for me now. So it's time to maybe look at some new things. And that's what Sanders was saying. But every time he says something, she tries to shoot, him down. Well, when I'm in the White House, and he said, well, you're not in the White House yet, which I thought was kind of cool. But she might as well be, because with all of these super delegates and all of this crookedness that the Democrats, and in some ways the Republicans too, but the Democrats have come up with, she's pretty much a shoo-in, which I would hate to see that happen, because that would mean doomsday for America. So as far as healthcare is concerned, the Republicans have the right idea to hopefully get in there and totally repeal Obamacare, because it needs to be repealed, appealed, and just peeled. Poverty. They got on poverty, and again, back to the Social Security, I just want to touch on that for a moment. They're talking about $15 an hour as minimum wage. Well, if you take the average payment, which is they're saying about $13,000 to $15,000 a year, and you break that down into, say, a 140-hour work week, Social Security recipients aren't getting anywhere near $15 an hour. So, with things going up the way they are, I mean, my family is a family of two. It's just my brother and I. We want to go out and get some fast food, and I'm not talking about the dollar menu, because we're two big strapping guys, and we like to eat when we want to eat. Okay, not like we're gonna eat all day every day, but I mean sometimes we want to put on a feed bag, and to do that, you got to spend about $50 or $60. Because the way we like to do it, we like to have some for today, as they say, dinner tonight, lunch tomorrow. So we like to have enough to, spread out over 2 days. And that way, I don't have to cook all the time. We just go in here and have some warmed over leftovers until there are no more leftovers to be warmed over. So, so we're going to spend about $50, $60. Back in the day, you could do the same thing with about 20, 30. So things are constantly going up. Gas prices, the cost of rents or lease payments for, residences. Don't even think about buying a house. Clothing, everything that you could possibly think of is up. But yet, paychecks remain the same. We have more children in this country in poverty. We used to look at the commercials, send something for care, or send something for needy children, March of Dimes, or whatever. Hey, we just need to send those dollars in our own neighborhoods, because kids are going to bed hungry. Kids are sad when school lets out, because that means they don't eat. They like to go to school so they can eat. It's a sad state of affairs. You got mom, you got dad out there working. If you got single parents, that person is out there whipping and stroking, trying to make it. And you're still getting your 1-2 from the economy. So they talked about poverty and how we could, do that. Well, one way to raise poverty is you need to get some jobs. Stop all the jobs from going out of the country. Get them back here. Slithery Clinton, I don't think she knows how to do it. Bernie, I don't think he knows how to do it. But, that's where it starts. People need to be able to work. Another way to fund all of these things is to do what I'm going to suggest when I talk about this final bullet here, and that's the refugee immigration. If you notice, I left that for last, because that's exactly where it should be, last. Bernie Sanders, and this is where, this guy makes me sick. Like I said, some of the stuff that he says, it sounds feasible, although Slithery Clinton doesn't think it does. But it sounds feasible. But anybody who comes up with this refugee crap and immigration, they kind of make me cringe, because, first of all, you got a country in which many of its citizens, including its veterans, are out on the streets. So how can you justify bringing in some other people that are not wealthy? They don't have any means of support. They have fled their country for either war-torn reasons or because there's too many drug cartels or what have you in their country, so they're fleeing, pretty much with the clothes on their back. So that means when they get to your shores, you've got to take care of them. You've got to house them. You've got to feed them. You've got to provide them with some kind of monetary compensation so that they can sort of get in the mainstream. So that's your baby. You got to take care of it. How can you justify that when 20 million people of your own nation, your own native sons and daughters are out on the street? How can you justify letting people come into the country when that same thing is going on? Oh, well, it's the children, we got to think. What about our own children that are out there on the streets crying and hungry, the gut and gone to their backbone for lack of food? I say we could save a lot of money by leaving these people in their own countries. It's not our problem that they're in the position they're in. It's their stupid government's problem, and we need to let their stupid government handle it. Because if we try to handle it, then our government is stupid, because now the problem is ours. And it's not just a humanitarian thing. Don't let your wooden gods fool you. This is a dangerous thing. Every agency in the world that is there for the protection of humanity has stated that there is a vast opportunity and possibility that these so-called refugees, these so-called immigrants, have a very liberal spritzing of terrorism within in their midst. Interpol, Scotland Yard, FBI, CIA. So why would any politician be still chomping at the bit to have these people come in? It doesn't make sense. And that's where Democrats fall apart, because they're really chomping at the bit. We need to take care of our own people. We need to fix up what's wrong in this country. And as I've said so many times before, I am sick of these mamby-pamby politicians going in with tunnel vision, like this Slithery Clinton. She concerns me greatly because all she talks about is women. Oh, we need to have equal pay for equal work for women. We need to have equal pay for equal work for anybody. Oh, we need to have health care for women's needs. We need to have health care for anybody's needs. Oh, we need to help get our women off the streets. We need to help get anybody that's from our country off the streets. The streets are not for people to live in. And to add insult to injury, I've seen it time and time again. Police officers treating the homeless people like they're some kind of a pariah. Well, it's illegal for you to be on the streets, for you to be occupying this street. Well, it should be illegal for you to be out on the street because of stupid high prices for rents, lease payments, and house payments. You need to get to these greedy landlords, these unscrupulous landlords, get them to drop those rents. You do not have to have a rent that high, especially when you're not offering anything. A lot of these old dilapidated buildings here in Los Angeles, California, truth be known, the landlord should be paying you, the tenant, to stay there. Sure, we have some of the most beautiful real estate in the world. We got it in Bel Air, we got it in Beverly Hills, we got it in Newport Beach, we got it in Century City, and that's just down here in Southern California. We're not talking about up in San Francisco or Carmel or Santa Barbara, places like that. But still, these rents are ridiculous. These house payments are ridiculous. All of these prices are ridiculous. And a lot of reason for that are these immigrants and refugees. They come here from these third world countries, and if they do find a nice place to move into, they tear it apart. I can speak with great specificity on that because the building I live in, every time they move out, they got to rebuild the unit. They got to put in flooring. They got to change the toilet. They got to change the countertop. They got to change all of the linoleum and stuff on the floor because these people tear it apart. Some of them come from countries where they don't even have any plumbing. So, I hate to get graphic here, when they wipe their behinds after defecation, instead of flushing that paper down the toilet, because they're not used to it, they don't have good plumbing systems in their country, they throw it in the trash can. That's what I'm talking about. We need to leave these people in their own countries. Stop that crap. These refugees are infiltrating a lot of our major cities and some that are not so major. We've seen them when we go out here with the burqas and the hijabs and everything. Not to mention the run-of-the-mill foreigners that are already coming over here illegally and legally. All of this garbage about guest workers. That's bull crap. We don't need any guest workers here. Let them guest work in their own country. We got enough people here. Get some of our guests that are on the streets, our own homegrown natives and refugees, and veterans, get them off the street and put them to work. All during last night's debate, both Sanders and slithery Clinton kept putting down Trump. Only Trump. Now, there's still quite a bit of Respublicans in there working to be president, but they just kept pounding on Trump. Why? Because they're scared of the man. They're scared that he's going to take on the establishment and tear it apart, and it needs to be. A lot of things that are going on in this country need to be totally obliterated. We need to take our Constitution and we need to review it and update it, because it was written so many years ago, when you had just a little handful of people lumped up in one little tiny part of the eastern part of the country, part that is known as New England. Little tiny group of folks. Not even enough to probably fill a 747-8 when you started writing that thing. And now look at where this country is, with billions and billions of people in it. And we're still going along with 214-year-old laws, or however old this country is, or whenever, however long ago the thing was written. We need to review it, because a lot of stuff that's in there is not good for us. Like this refugee crap. That needs to be taken out. No more refugees. You go somewhere else. There's a whole lot of countries in this world you can go to, instead of you slithering your butt across our border and expecting us to take care of you. Well, see, the Trump man will probably go in there, if he could get in there, and change all of that crap. We don't need any more refugees. Don't you understand that when you take people in your country that have no visible means of support, you got to take care of them? If you're taking them in by the millions, look at the dollar amounts you're spending on them. And this is constant. Fighting stupid wars that we don't necessarily have to be in. That's another big one. We as a country need to keep our nose in our own business and let these people run their countries the way they see fit. Everybody doesn't want a democratic process. They don't want it. Taking care of these other countries or occupying their land so that we can strategically place missiles or bombs and ships and stuff. Hey, if you want our protection, you pay us. It's so backwards. And then you get people like Slithery Clinton in there. And I guess you say, well, why are you saying her much more than Sanders? Hey, Sanders, I didn't know about him. But I know about Slithery. She wasn't good the first time, her and her whorish husband. So what makes you think that she's going to be good this time? I mean, they had to get this woman to bring back $200,000 or more of stuff that she stole from the White House. And anybody that she's connected with and subsequently crosses her ends up either in prison or dead. This is not somebody we want running our country. She can look at you and lie right to your face. Not to mention all the stuff that she's done, with the tip-top creme de la creme being what she did to those 4 people in Benghazi. Left them out to dry and subsequently to die. And this is what you want for president. Well, if this luciferous piece of garbage gets into office, bye-bye America. She is the doomsday device. She wants to associate with people that are known terrorists. She wants the Muzzies to come here. Oh, because we can't cut off. Hey, if somebody is against them and they want to help get rid of them, they know what to do. We don't need to coddle them and be friendly with them. She's an idiot. And on a lot of scores, so is Sanders. So, that's my take on the debates last night. Again, I will say I will be glad when we have to see no more debates because they're sickening. They talk about the same old crap, the same old thing, the same old bickering back and forth. And when it comes to the Democrats, I'm so sick of hearing about old bastard, I don't know what to do. He is the worst something that has ever occupied the White House in the White House's history. And anybody, I'll close the show saying this, anybody who wants to emulate him, who wants to supposedly carry on his doctrines and his methods, is either the stupidest thing on two legs or is criminally insane. Slithery says she wants to do that. I say this. Hillary Clinton, or as I say, Slithery Clinton, for prison in 2016. Thank you very much for joining us again for this edition of the Phil Taylor Jones Show. We thank you as usual, and we want you to stay happy and stay safe and take care. We'll see you next time right here. Bye-bye.